All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at exactly how complete beginners are practically hacking the system using pure data. I mean, what if I told you your next upload could fundamentally change your whole trajectory in literally just 10 days? Because right now, every single day, creators with absolutely zero initial following are triggering the algorithm to pull in thousands, sometimes even millions of views. And honestly, the shocking truth here, the vast majority of creators who fail aren't lacking talent. Nope, they're just operating on outdated, unscientific advice. So we're going to break down the definitive, data-driven 10-day blueprint that successful creators use to aggressively attract viewers and basically force the machine learning models to push their content.
Let's kick things off with a slightly provocative question to shift your mindset. Because going viral, it isn't about luck, and it certainly isn't about artistic talent. It is a predictable output based on hard metrics. Think about it. If you start treating your content strategy as a mathematical formula instead of a lottery ticket, your entire perspective changes. Virality is literally an equation. When you plug in the correct data variables, the platform's machine learning model has absolutely no choice but to output reach and visibility. It's that simple.
And this right here, this perfectly illustrates our starting variable, 0. Having 0 subscribers is not a disadvantage, guys. It's simply the exact baseline where our mathematical equation begins. See, when you start at 0, you have 0 algorithmic baggage. You've got a completely clean slate to start feeding the system exactly what it's optimized to reward. It is purely about the performance of your immediate asset. The algorithm doesn't care about your historical subscriber count.
Now, most beginners fail because they lean on the outdated assumptions you see on the left. They just cross their fingers and hope to get lucky, or they assume their raw talent will eventually be discovered. But in this explainer, we are focusing entirely on the data-driven blueprint over on the right. We are swapping out hope for hard metrics. By leveraging A/B testing principles, audience psychology, and highly specific daily tactics, we are taking the guesswork completely out of the equation.
Okay, here's our reverse-engineered agenda for the blueprint. First, 0 subs to viral success. Second, days 1 through 3, research and ideation. Third, days 4 through 6, packaging for clicks. Fourth, day 7, decoding the algorithm. And finally, days 8 through 10, launch and analyze. Let's get right into it. Section 1. 0 subs to viral success. Real quick, let's establish exactly why we are leveraging this specific 10-day time frame to generate these exponential micro-wins. The 10-day constraint? It forces you to be analytical rather than emotional. It's all about executing a tight, focused sprint without overthinking it.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that viral growth only happens when you scientifically merge audience psychology with performance metrics. You have to understand why people click, that's the psychology part, and then you have to actually sustain that attention in a way the platform can measure, that's the performance metrics. Once you master click-through rates, retention, and watch time right alongside emotional triggers and trends, well, you've unlocked the formula.
Moving right along to Section 2, days 1 through 3, research and ideation. This is your data collection phase. This is where you lay the analytical groundwork before you even think about hitting record.
Now look at how your daily inputs build exponentially here. On day 1, your job is purely research. You're analyzing successful channels to find a niche with verified high demand. Basically looking for what audiences are already actively consuming. Then, on day 2, you become a forensic analyst. You're watching the top-performing videos in that chosen niche and identifying common structural patterns, like how are they pacing their edits? How exactly do they hook the viewer? And finally, day 3. That's when you synthesize all that data to craft one singular, highly targeted idea.
To crush it on day 3, you absolutely must utilize these specific variables. It guarantees your audience feels compelled to engage. First, your idea has to offer a clear promise, like solving a super specific problem the viewer actually has. Second, it must leverage curiosity so intensely that the viewer literally feels they're missing out if they scroll past. And third, it has to trigger immediate emotional investment. Think of concepts like, I tried this for 10 days and the results shocked me. That perfectly hits all 3 formula elements. It's an absolute cheat code.
All right, Section 3, days 4 through 6, packaging for clicks. Because, let's be real, a great idea is completely worthless if the packaging doesn't mathematically convert those impressions into actual views.
When it comes to your script and your edit, you need to treat your content as a retention asset. You do this by ruthlessly cutting dead moments and using pattern interruptions to keep the viewer locked in. On day 4, when you're scripting, those first 30 seconds must be overwhelmingly powerful. Skip the long, boring introductions and get straight to the value. By day 6, when you edit, your one and only goal is to maximize audience retention. Change visuals constantly, add some zooms, utilize sound effects, and just inject high energy to force the viewer's brain to stay engaged. Literally every single second must earn its place on screen.
And then for day 5, we rely on CTR multipliers. A mathematically perfect, uncluttered thumbnail can instantly double your baseline views. I'm serious. This is your packaging. If your thumbnail is cluttered, the data shows viewers will just scroll right past it. You need large, readable text, high visual contrast, and hyper-focus on one single, emotionally resonant subject. This visual simplicity is a massive multiplier for your click-through rate.
Which brings us to Section 4, Day 7, Decoding the Algorithm. Now, this is the exact point where most beginners make catastrophic mistakes. Why? Because they simply don't understand the machine. They treat the platform like it's some human critic sitting in an office, when in reality, it is just a set of scales weighing very specific metrics.
So, the crucial thing to grasp here is click-through rate, or CTR. This is the primary gatekeeper metric that proves your packaging actually works. Let's say the system shows your thumbnail to 100 people, and only one person clicks. Well, your CTR is 1%. The algorithm interprets this data as a massive red flag, a signal that your content is irrelevant, and it will immediately kill the distribution. Your Day 5 packaging work is entirely dedicated to driving the single metric as high as humanly possible.
But once they click, audience retention steps in as the ultimate validator. If your pattern interruptions successfully hold their attention, the algorithm pushes your asset wider. But if people click and then bounce after 10 seconds, you've failed the retention test. The machine instantly realizes, they used a good thumbnail but delivered a terrible experience. Watch time and retention are the true currencies here, guys. Keep them watching, and the system will absolutely reward you with explosive growth.
Finally, Section 5, Days 8 through 10, Launch and Analyze. This is where the theory becomes reality and we gather the conclusive data.
Notice the precise execution required here. You upload when the audience is active, force external traffic on day 9, and then become a total data scientist on day 10. On day 8, focus entirely on viewer behavior. Publish with optimized tags and descriptions exactly when your target audience is online. But listen, hitting upload, that is only half the battle of the launch. You can't just sit around waiting for the algorithm. You must aggressively feed the machine by driving initial metrics through secondary traffic sources. On day 9, you take control of the data. Clip your content for Shorts, Reels, and TikTok. Share it in hyper-relevant Facebook groups. You are essentially forcing those initial views and retention metrics into the system, which primes the algorithm to take over and do the heavy lifting. Then, day 10, pure analysis. Your goal is to locate the exact second viewers dropped off and completely eliminate that variable in the next iteration. You don't just guess what went wrong. You crack open the analytics and you look. Did they leave 40 seconds in? Okay, what exactly was happening on screen at that exact moment? Was it a slow transition? A boring sentence? You identify the losers and you ruthlessly cut them from your next 10-day sprint while doubling down on everything that worked. I love this quote. The algorithm doesn't care who you are, it only cares how viewers react to your content. Just let that sink in for a second. The machine doesn't care that you have 0 subscribers, it doesn't care if you've been doing this for 10 years or 10 minutes. Success isn't about your identity, it's about consistency in providing exactly what the data demands. It only measures the human reaction to the digital asset you placed in front of them. The creators who succeed are simply the ones who consistently learn, analyze their drop-off points, improve the next asset, and hit upload again.
So the only real difference between a stagnant 0 subscriber channel and explosive viral success is taking that very first step. Which day are you on right now? Are you going to keep hoping to get lucky, or are you ready to actually execute the math? Because your massive breakthrough might just be 10 highly focused, data-driven days away. Think about that as we close this explainer out, and ask yourself, what does your day 1 look like?